So there's been quite a long discussion on the last video I made on how to detail props. And it was mostly about the modeling tools that are inside Unreal. And I got a bunch of comments that said that the tools were not good, that Blender is much better, or 3ds Max or whatever. But well, nobody mentioned 3ds Max, but I guess everyone uses Blender these days, especially people who don't work in big companies. But I want to share some things that I feel that are good, is modeling tools are good for, and what they are not good for, and what I personally use them, and why I feel like working, if you're working between Unreal Engine and Blender, and there is a lot of back and forth between those two apps. So the idea behind those tools is to remove the back and forth. So there are some things that can be done here that it's easier to do in Unreal than do it in another 3D app. So let's get started with that. Now, obviously, if you don't have the modeling tools mode, like I don't know what version of Unreal you're using, but it's here, the left side, just go to modeling. So grab a box here. One of the most common operations I usually use is pivot point. So normally, what you will do, well, if you want to change the pivot point of this asset, you will need to go to your 3D app, you will need to change the pivot point there, and then re-import it. And with the modeling tools, you can just do it here. So you can go to transform, edit pivot, and you can just move it wherever you want. Like say I want the pivot point here, accept, and I don't need to re-import the asset again. I don't need to leave the app and re-import it again. Also, I can change it like to the center or to the bottom, to the left, to the right, to the world origin if I want it. Like, so it's really such a convenient tool to use, and I don't need to leave the engine for that. Another thing is the duplicate. I can duplicate this mesh, except now when I go to the content browser, you will see that I have more than one of these meshes here. So automatically I forget the other one. So I don't need to go here to the content browser, right click, duplicate, drag it again, and then I can start edit the mesh. So that's very, very important. Now, another thing that can be very common is the pattern tools. They are quite good, especially with ornaments. Let me see if I can find like an ornament here. Let me see. Yeah, something like this. Something like this, for example. Let's just download the medium quality. We don't need anything extra higher, just for the demonstration of this video. So what they're good for is very easy. So let me cancel this and grab the asset we just download. Let's go here. And what you can do is just go to the pattern tool, and you can just play with the axis, like how many counts you want, right? Or you can x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, or you can do a line, you can do a circle if you want, you can do a grid. So these meshes are quite, you know, it's very good for you to do this kind of operation inside Unreal, because you don't need to go back to the app and do it there and then import it again and just see if it fits the scene or not. It's such a huge time saver to use these tools here. I just don't see myself using a 3D app to do this kind of things anymore, especially because I can do it here. And one of the things that in game development you will notice is a lot of the time and effort doesn't really go into the thinking process of making things. It's actually the back and forth between the apps. So if you want to make this, like go to the app, redo it, import again, check if it's good. And I'm not even mentioning, like, you can see this in real time in your scene. Like, you can check everything on real time here. So you don't actually need to guess like how is it gonna be after I import it, which is, to be honest, that sucks. That sucks. I've done it so many times and it's just so bad. So let's talk about what else you can do. Well, obviously you can deform. Now, I don't advise you to model things from scratch here. I made some experiments on modeling things, and I think you can get some decent results depending on the object you want to model. But some objects just have, you know, they have naturally very complex shapes. So what I like to do, for example, is if I have an asset such as this one, for example, like I have this asset and I want to bend it, I can just go to the wrap modifier and I can just change the axis I want to. Let me go to 90 degrees, something like that. Is that? Yeah. And I can just change this to, for example, 260. I can just have something like this if I want it, or 270, or 180, which is a common thing. And you can just leave it like that, for example. And then you can have a new asset. Now, I changed the original one. Let's say I don't want that. Let's Control-C. Let's go back here. I can just go to transform, duplicate, accept. Now this is another asset. I can wrap, change the axis. I can just leave it like that if I want. And then I can go back to this one and, you know, try to put it in position. And I can do the same here. It's not exactly aligning. That's perfectly normal. When you do this kind of bend operations, you don't necessarily have the best angles. But this is the kind of stuff that I will do even outside of, you know, Unreal in general. And you know, it's very easy just to do here. You don't need to go back to Blender, bend it, import it again, test if it works, go back to Blender, import it again. Like, that's such a pain in the ass, to be honest. So another thing I like to do, this is for more organic stuff. Let's go find a rock here. See, let's just find, let's put a filter here for the assets. Let's just find, oh no, for example, this one. Just gonna download the medium quality. Obviously, with a higher quality, obviously you get more quality, all right? But I'm just here to show you the point of what you can do with this. You can import, go to the assets, go here to static mesh, grab this rock, just make it bigger. And what I like to do is just go to the lattice, and this is a very common operation. You can just change the axis here, and you can deform the normals if you want. That's a new thing, actually. I will approximate the normals, which is great. And also the interpolation mode you can set to cubic, so it can be a smooth transition. So what can you do? Well, you can just move things a little bit. This is a very common operation you will use in Blender a lot, especially with that FFD modifiers. In Blender or any other 3D app, sometimes you need to make adjustments like this just to, you know, try some new things. And then when you're happy with what you have, then it's like, okay, I want to keep this shape. Let's just hit accept. And there you go. And you have a new asset and you don't need to leave. Like, what would you do? Normally is export, go to Blender, do it again. And these are very simple modeling operations that, you know, Blender has to offer, but also Unreal. Notice that we're not modeling anything like super detailed. We're just modifying existing stuff here. other things I like to do, and this is, I think this is a very common, it's a very common technique to use. Let me create, let me see, I'll create a cylinder. So what I can do here, for example, I can go to model and do some modeling operations. I can delete the top if I want it. Again, you can do this in Blender if you want. Now, I don't have much resolution, so I can go to subdivide. Let me see if that doesn't work. So I can go mesh, remesh. I can just have the topology like this. Or I can just, create my own topology by adding edges, but whatever. Things that are very common to use Blender is displacement. And displacement is very easy here. You can just go to deform, displace. And the good thing about this is that you can just apply the material you want. So for example, I want to apply this one. And let's just say I'm happy with that. I can just go to displace, go to texture 2D, then put a mask here, go to blue. And now I can just increase the resolution here. There you go. And now I can have like a very detailed brick wall, especially for surfaces with a very uniform pattern, or if you want to add details. Displacement is a very, very common operation you use in 3D modeling apps, and that's something you can do here. And then you can just mix it with whatever is it that you want to do. Like for example, you want to bend this a little bit. Let me see if I can find a good angle. Let's just go for 90 here, and let's change the handle. And then change the intensity of this. Maybe we want to use something like this, for example, and you can just accept. And then you have a thing like this, right? So it's quite good. It's quite good. It's quite fast. Which takes me to the next topic. If you have worked with booleans before, you know it can crash. Now Blender, not even Blender, but 3ds Max and other apps are extremely delicate when working with booleans, especially with very complex shapes and where the triangles are really messy and everything. I find that Unreal have the best booleans in the market. The best. And the reason is this is working real time. So if I go here, I try to select those two, and I believe it's in model, yeah, boolean. I can just create a boolean here. Now there are a couple of things here. First, it already does the UVs for you, so you don't need to worry. Second thing, if I had a material here, let me say I have this brick wall, I can put it here if I want it. Okay, and let's just deform this a little bit just by using the same technique we used before, just to show you how good this is. We can go to mesh, remesh, accept, deform, displace, and now go to this one, put it here. Go back to probably 10 is a good number. So now we have a very decent amount of triangles here. So now I can choose the two of them. I can go to model boolean and see that it's actually very fast. And I actually have the same geometry that I have here, right? And I mean, this looks awful because obviously it's using the booleans and it just looks like inverse bricks, right? But I just wanted to add some noise here. You can see that how good this is, and not only that, you can move it here actually see on real time how this looks like. So, which is very powerful. Another thing is that it doesn't crash. Like I remember when I was working in Ubisoft, I won't give the details, but I got a task where I need to create a lot of broken assets. And broken assets are usually a thing that requires a lot of boolean. So let me just show you here, like boolean accept, and then you will be good to go, right? So broken assets is such a pain in the ass to work with in 3ds Max, because the booleans are not really good. And not only that, if you ask me, the preview window that Blender has or 3ds Max is just not as representative as the one you see in Unreal, which is the final outcome, right? So what you have here, and I will show you a really cool trick. Let me just go here to modeling, go to box. Just go here and change the depth to, I don't know, something like 20. Accept, and then put this material here. And what I can do is actually go to deform. Let me delete all of those. I don't need those for now. And let me go for create. Really, if extrude polygon will work, we'll put the fix solution to, I don't know, 50. I will also change the, I will get out of the perspective mode. See where we can find it. Let's also make sure it's 90 degrees here. Yeah, 90 degrees. There you go. Go to this wireframe and let's click on unlit. And now you see that you have something like this. Now let's not snap just for now. So what I can do is actually do brick by brick how I want to destroy this wall here. And I'm just gonna do this like this. You can do this for the whole wall if you want. Complete. And because you have the materials here, it's gonna be very easy for you. Now you can just move it in place. You can even put like, let's find a gravel material. Gravel. I say construction gravel. Yeah, that can work, so just download it. Even this one can work quite well. And what I'm gonna do is to actually put this material here. Construction rubble. You see the polygons are not the greatest, so just go to mesh, remesh. Again, something that you can do in Blender too, but I already done here in 1 second. I can go to deform, displace. And instead of using the 2D map, I can use a Perlin noise. I can change the intensity to 2 if I want it. Or just to have something like this, right? So click accept. And now you can just go here. And then go to model. Go to boolean. X accept. Now you can keep the boolean if you want. There are a bunch of options. But there you go. Now I have my destroyed brick wall here, which is very, very good. And again, I don't need to leave to another 3D package to do this. And the booleans are quite stable. If you work with Blender before or 3ds Max or other apps, they are very unsteady. They can crash quite easily. Now, if you really want to add more detail like this, of course, you're free to export this into the 3D modeling app and do like some small changes or or something like that. There was one comment, someone said like quality takes time. Like, of course, quality takes time. Like, you cannot expect to have high quality without time. And this is not what modeling tools is about. This is about improving the efficiency of the workflow between those apps. So if you want more quality, obviously you need to put the time on it. So that's something to consider. Okay. Another thing I like to use a modeling tools for is to change materials, and I think this one is quite good. So for example, I have a asset like this. Well, I want to change the materials. Well, normally you will need to go Blender, change the materials here, change the UVs or whatever, and basically redo it again. So what I can do actually, let me see, where is it? This attributes, yeah, edit materials here. I can go to edit materials, and how do you select the materials? Or it's gonna be very, very easy. I can either group by UV island, so I can just change this, for example, this is one UV island, and I can change the material for this. For example, I want to change this one. Actually, this one actually doesn't work here, but you can also go by material and connected material. So if I like here, like all this will be the material. And the reason is obviously this is only one material, it's a modular piece. So, but if you have multiple materials, it will select those. Okay, so I can edit materials, and let me just select, like, I can shift click by UV island and select those if I want it, for example. I can just change it to something like a different material. So I can go add another material, and I can just put something like some wooden planks maybe. And what I can do is actually assign the material here. Sorry, I did it wrong. I assigned the wood planks in the wrong place, so I can just click here. So I just want to add here, and I select, let me make this a little bit bigger. So active material. Oh, this is my number one. Oh, there you go. Active material is this one. Active material here. Number one, assign active material. And there you see that I have changed the material of this. Now, granted, this is not really the best looking mesh. So you can just go to UVs and transform. You can select those and just change them. I forgot this one, so let me do it again. Transform UVs, select this by holding shift, then just on uniform scale. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I forgot this one's in the side, but you get the idea. And I can do the same here. For example, I can just go back to attributes, edit materials, and I can select by UV island. So it's gonna be very easy for me. Let's say I just want to change this ones. There you go. So I want to change those. I want to add another material. And this time I'm going to add this brick wall, for example. I'm just going to put it here. Use material number 2. Assign material. And you will see it's not exactly pretty. But that's totally fine. totally fine. I mean, this is kind of operation you will do in Blender too, but you're actually making it inside Unreal. So if you say, oh, this is ugly, then don't worry, you can just go to UVs, transform UVs, select all of those, and then you can rotate those 90 degrees and scale those. Something like that. Click accept. There you go. You change a completely different look for your asset. And it works. It works just fine. So I find this is extremely powerful. And just the fact that you're able to do this kind of things inside Unreal already makes it really good. Now I can tell you what it's not good for. It's not good for making humans, or complex models like humans, or a lot of very organic shapes. It's not good for precise modeling. It's not made for that. But it's good for a lot of other modeling operations that you typically use in Blender. If you made a game before, you know how much back and forth is between the two apps. So it's like, it's just, you can just make it very easy. I even have a UV editor. I want to play with it sometime. But just by doing this, you can select those like this, and actually 90 degrees, accept. And again, you watch it on real time. You don't really need to do anything else here. It's already done for you. And this is basically a new asset. Can you imagine doing that on Blender? You need to export the asset. I can tell you how to export it. Right click, asset actions, export. Then you go Blender, import, then change the UVs, do whatever is it that you want to do in Blender. Not having real-time feedback, export it again, right click, re-import, see the changes. And if it doesn't look like you want, you need to export it again. And that's one step assuming that you're gonna only do it one time, but you're not gonna do it one time, you're gonna do it multiple times. And this step, like right click, asset actions, export, import in Blender, change it, import, re-import again, multiple times, it takes so much time. So if you can just do it here, like, why not? Now, if you lack precision for some things or whatever, of course you have no choice but to go back to Blender, right? But you can already see how much you can change one asset. So it's quite good. It's quite good. So I think hopefully this video helps you to understand what are the difference between those two tools. What can you do with Unreal? What you cannot do with Unreal? And obviously you cannot model a monster with this or something like that. You need to use another app. But a lot of operations can be done here, especially eliminate a lot of back and forth between the two apps. So just keep that in mind. And of course, it worth the time to learn those tools just so that you can speed up your workflows. These are really good tools. More and more things are coming to Unreal. Animation is coming into Unreal. You can now animate in Unreal. Is it as good as Maya or Blender? I don't know. We will find out. But is it gonna get better? Like, you bet it's gonna be. These modeling tools have improved a lot since the last time. And the user experience is quite good, actually. So hopefully these answers some questions. Let me know in the comments what you think about those tools. Are you gonna use them? Are you just not really interested in those? And if you're gonna use them, like, how are you gonna plan to use them? There are many creative ways that you can use this to create your own tools. So just keep that in mind. And I see you in the next one.